Hi there. I have been spending a lot of time thinking about worship, and we know human beings are worship creatures. We devote our attention, our minds, and our energy, if you will, on objects, subjects that we can aspire to, that determine our behavior to a large degree. We all have heard the saying that he worshiped the ground that she walked on. And we can all get into our minds this picture of a human being, a male, who had chosen, if you will, to follow a female. And this female had the power, if you will, to determine where this man walked because he followed her. And his focus was on her. And so that gives us an image of what worship is. Now, we know that worshiping in its essence determines our days. It helps us form what is right or wrong. I did the chat box and I asked chat box, what does it mean to worship? And this is what chat box said. Worship is the act of showing reverence, adoration, and devotion to a deity or a higher power. It involves expressing love, respect, and awe towards the object of worship through prayers, rituals, ceremonies, and other religious practices. It goes on to say that worship is a fundamental aspect of many religions and spiritual traditions, serving as a way for individuals to connect with the divine and express their faith and beliefs. Worship can take many forms, including singing hymns, meditation, offering sacrifices, and participating in religious gatherings. I appreciated Chatbox's complete definition of what it means to worship. In today's culture, in the early 21st century, we find that worshiping can take on the form of fans of a professional sports team or any sports team for that matter. It can take on the form of shopping, worshiping fashion. For emerging adults, it can take on the form of seeking peer approval. It can take on for young adults and adults, probably giving your time, energy, and devotion to social apps or the internet where we seek likes and the adoration, if you will, from others. Because in worship, there is this sense that I will give myself to this being, this deity. That deity has the right, therefore, to change my behavior, to tell me what to do, what not to do, when to do it. It becomes the rule maker for my life. I like what the chat box said about connection. One of the things that humans have always done and continue to do is to be connecting individuals. We are individuals that seek connection. And so that's really what got me thinking about this is worship is not something that is really confined to a religious text or context. Because with worship, there's always connection. That's the other part of what worship is we seek to connect to something outside of ourselves. For we do know that even though we have everything that we need within ourselves, we also know that there's something beyond us. And we seek to connect to it. We know that there's something larger, if you will. I think there's more to worship that is changing and evolving in our culture in the 21st century. Some of the things that have changed, that we haven't had previously, is the amount of people that can travel and our ability to learn about other parts of the world or other parts of culture. How do they connect? Who do they consider to be supreme being? Who's their higher power? So we have a plethora of information in our culture today that we didn't have before. We also have the internet, and we also have social media. And for many that don't have a strong sense of who they are and what they are going to worship, for many of us, I'm sure I have my own stories of when I was growing up, seeking that peer-to-peer approval and worshiping sometimes the people that might not have been the best for me, and giving my time and my energy into them, only to be rebuffed if I wasn't pleasing to them, or they didn't have time for me, or there was a tiff that I wasn't aware of. There's so much energy when you're growing up. And so that's a very tender time for many of us. And so choosing what we're going to devote ourselves to is something that is helpful, even though we can choose to do it our own, because us Americans, we really love freedom and that agency of being able to make up our own minds. But sometimes it's helpful to have people that are respectful be able to speak into our life. I believe that one of the main reasons that worship is a religious term, more so than a social term, but in the religious world, you have that connection to someone or someones that are larger than you. A football team, a professional football team, they're huge as they can be, they're big, they're fast, but they are human. And so they fall into the same category as quite mortal that we all are. And as humans, we are connectors and we are worshipers. And so religion has those defining elements of who to worship. And they usually have a complete set of the whys and the whats and the hows that have withstood the test of time. And worshiping someone greater than yourself, that is outside of yourself, that is uncontrollable, that is mystical to a large degree, and beckons the best of us, because when you worship a god or a deity or a supernatural that has the good ideals of human, because we have them within us. So, some things to think about. What do you worship? Why do you worship that or them? Are you being connected? And is that still small voice within you connecting to what you're worshiping? Is it on solid ground? Has it been a part of humans' existence for generations, or is it something that is new? So I ask, where do you seek confirmation and acceptance from? For in that you will see what you will worship. I wish you well today. Thanks for joining me.